Hi, and welcome to tonight's live. I'm talking about our destructive emotional strategies when we're not dealing with our emotions in healthy ways, our big negative emotions. And some of us will implode, some of us will explode, and sometimes we do a bit of both, a bit of, side to side pendulum kind of stuff, exploding, imploding, and back again. But typically we'll have strategies that we've learned from when we were young for different situations, and then we get to be adults and then we pass those on to the next generation by demonstrating them, because we all know that children learn by observation, by witnessing, by modeling what they see and what they hear. So let's have a bit of a look at what these are. So neither of them are healthy. I want to start there. I want to start with whether you are imploding or you are exploding. Neither of those things is positive. They both have consequences that hurt yourself, hurt others. Essentially, when we hurt ourselves, we hurt others. When we hurt others, we hurt ourselves. So they're very, very destructive for relationships and for emotional and mental health, for ourselves and the people around us. People who internalize, implode, who seek to control internally, they might be doing things like self-harm even to try and release that pain that they're not letting out. Now, these people could be known as passive-aggressive as well. Externally, they'll be people-pleasing. They might be depressive. They might be shut down, putting one face onto the world. They go into a strong endurance of like carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they may be very private people that don't share as much or don't share everything about themselves, or only to very close friends. And the theme here is that I need to people please. They may be identifying with the word empath, like that they're experiencing the emotions of people around them and don't want to burden other people with their emotions. The front will be a nice, I'm a good person, I'm a nice person, and it will be that down crushed heart, denied, internal repression, where the theme is that I'm protecting other people from my feelings and I'm making other people's happiness my problem. So your feelings become my problem when I'm imploding, and my feelings are my problem. I don't burden them onto you. I don't share them. I don't express them. I may even have shut down, dissociated from my emotions, and be feeling like a numbness. So that can happen as well when we completely disconnect. So this imploding, if you think about, even how that could manifest into other things like self-harm, like I already said, maybe even anorexia, because it's that I'm out of control in my big emotions. I don't have a healthy avenue or a healthy way to express them, but I'm seeking to control them internally inside myself. So there's that I will control me rather than express me. It's a hiding thing. So external, if you have somebody or you are somebody that is an exploder, an aggressor, that you become aggravated, you're going into the fight. So instead of shut down and freeze, you're going into the fight, that attack mode and the rage. And this is where you're gaining your power by putting your power onto others. So an internalizer is getting their power from avoiding conflict, from controlling what they share. The exploding, externalizing person is going to feel out of control, but they're going to try instead of controlling themselves and internalizing the control, they're going to seek to dominate the situation by just lashing out their rage on other people. So that's the exploding person. If you think of, who's that angry chef that yells and screams, or John McEnroe's a tennis player, or there's a whole stack of people that you can think of in, you know, on media that are exploding people. They just like dominate the situation with the like expressing all of their big ugly emotions, big powerful emotions out onto other people. So there's the difference between imploding and internalizing and exploding, and you know, being able to externalize everything. Like I said, neither of those are productive, they're not healthy, and they are damaging. So if you push either of these type of people hard enough, so say I'm an internalizer, I'm an imploding person, if you push me hard enough and far enough, I will eventually stand up and say, and flip the other way. So it's like, I've had enough and you can't push me anymore. And I'm going to stop shutting down and internalizing. I'm going to eventually find my voice. If you push the exploding person hard enough, they're going to flip the other way and go inside out or upside down or outside in, and they're going to say, I've had enough, I can't fight anymore, I'm withdrawing, I'm shutting down, I'm retreating. So neither's healthy. Neither one of those is healthy. One's not better than the other. So what can we do from an emotional intelligence point of view? The answer is to express in a healthy way, not lashing out and screaming and yelling and trying to control the situation. It's about owning the emotion, owning it, recognizing it, saying, this is my feeling, and it's not because of something else or someone else or what's happening. I can own the response. My emotional response is there. I can be comfortable with it. I can recognize it. I can name it. Like, I feel angry, I feel disappointed, I feel out of control, I feel powerless or helpless or, you know, sad or whatever. Communicate it using words appropriately to another person, whoever's relevant, stating what that feeling is, stating what you will and won't accept, what to do about it, or what you expect, what your boundaries are. And then also connect with your body, because feelings, emotions are physical feelings. They're a sensation. They're real. They can cause the most nauseated stomach. They can cause like tingling in the arms. They can cause constriction in the throat, pain, sensations, weakness, trembling, all sorts of stuff. So connect with the body and be able to like just have that internal dialogue with that emotion. You know, I feel you, I see you, I can notice that this is what's happening. The more you can connect with yourself in an emotional state, the more you can run and control and be aware of that self-dialogue that's going on. What images am I making in my mind? What places am I taking myself to in my head? What words am I saying to myself? Who am I blaming? Get some, which brings me to the next point, which is to get aware. Become aware that this response was a learned response. If you're an exploding person, and people who explode don't want to explode, people who implode don't want to implode. Because neither one feels good. It doesn't feel good to be that person that holds everything in. It doesn't feel good afterwards, after you've blurted it all over everybody. You don't feel good then either. So know that you learned this as a child. You have modeled it from someone else. It was a coping strategy that you needed to pick up or adapt or adopt at some point in order to cope with whatever you're going through as a child. So it doesn't mean that this is the strategy you're going to use forever. Like when you were little, you held your texter like this and you scribbled like this, then you learned to hold a pen like this. And, you know, you get better and better the more you practice things. But we stop practicing people don't typically practice how to manage their emotions, how to express them, how to communicate them in healthy ways deliberately, unless you're watching this video and then you're maybe actually exploring this a little bit. So connect with your body, own your emotions, communicate them using words, be able to name them and talk about the sensations. Like, I feel so angry right at this minute because I feel disrespected, and that's causing like a complete feeling of tension right down my shoulders. And this is what I'm expecting to happen next, or this is what I'm going to do about it. I'm going to walk away, or, you know, I'm not going to accept that, or whatever's going on for you. Connect with others for support. Connect with others for support. Talking through this stuff is really important, whether it's to a third party person or to the person that you're having the big emotion towards or about, or the situation or circumstance, whatever. It's important to take a break and connect first. It's important to get some breath. When we are emotionally triggered, we do have a very narrow point of view. We actually develop tunnel vision. We need to be able to step back, space out, give ourselves some room. Which brings me to the last point, which is to practice the gap. So there is always a stimulating event and then a response. So we have like a trigger and then an emotion. And then we can choose to take a little gap in there to really do some of this stuff, monitor the self-talk, become aware, take some breaths, notice if we're feeling the urge to explode, notice if we're feeling the urge to shut down and implode, being able to then decide to respond instead of react. So whatever I normally do, if I can actually do something different to what I have normally done, then I can expect a different result. And that means that I'm actually making a deliberate choice to make change. Because if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. You know that one already. And so it's important to notice in this gap that I create myself. So when I have this emotion, it's like, oh, this is really a big emotion. Normally I'd shut down. I'm going to name it. I'm going to own it. I'm going to connect with it. I'm going to communicate it, no matter how hard that is. Even the emotional response you have from communicating it differently might bring up something for you. So instead of yelling, you might decide like, okay, I normally would yell at this point, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn around and I'm going to go and sit in my room for a minute, and I'm going to ask you to respect that because I'm feeling really angry right now. And when I come back out, this is what I expect. And, you know, taking some different steps, some different actions, breathe through, take the gap, own it, name it, connect with it in your body, communicate it, and get some support, reaching out and connecting with other people about what you're going through and how you handled it. The last thing I want to point out is that however you deal with something, however you're dealing with these big emotions, do a retrospective assessment afterwards. So when the emotions typically they go up and then they come back down. And in this after phase, it's important to reflect back and have a look over your shoulder and say, how did I do and how could I have done differently? Like, let's look at the good things I did well. Okay, so normally I would have like swung my arm and just thrown that thing flying, but no, I didn't do that. So yes, good. I stopped myself there. Normally I would have, use swear words. This time I didn't. Normally I would have just not said how I felt. This time I spoke up and said, no, actually, that really upsets me. One thing for me that I notice is that sometimes an emotion will happen, like an event will happen. And for me, I just go into a freeze, and then the actual reaction or the thing comes like an hour later. So it's like I've gotten a lot better with it now, but I know like years ago, it used to be like days later, and then it got to like hours later, and then it got to like half an hour later. And I know this because Nick used to say to me, like, that was an hour ago. What are you carrying on about that now? And I'd say, because, you know, after I thought about it, I actually realized that, like, no, I'm really actually realizing that I'm really upset about that, and I want to address it now. So not wait until later down the track, because that's actually what happens in relationships is people don't recognize when an emotion's been triggered. It's because we're so desensitized to recognizing our own emotions. So we're either having some kind of trigger tantrum or irrational response from some kind of trauma response, or we're shutting down. And so it's kind of like nothing gets dealt with in real time. So there's that little comment or that overlooking thing or that whatever happens, this event, that event. And instead of in real time saying, oh, ow, that really didn't feel nice what you just said then, I felt really, whatever, and responding to it right in that moment, we just hold it in, bite your tongue, mutter under your breath, and then later on, there'll be that one thing that happens, you're like, whoa, and it takes whole relationships out when people do that over a long period of time, because it's like that thing, you can't sweep stuff under the rug, because sooner or later you're going to have to lift it up and shake that rug out, and there's just going to be dust and dirt and crap flying everywhere. So being able to note it and notice and be aware, am I an internalizer or am I an externalizer? Do I implode or do I explode? If I'm doing those things, how could I handle that better? How can I reflect back and make progress in the right direction in how I'm dealing with my big emotions and model that to the rest of the people in my family? I hope you have gained something, and if I'm talking and something goes, oh yes, that's like puts a thought in your head, just chuck it down in the chat, in the comments underneath. I love to get your feedback and your engagement. I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're interested in anxiety, depression, emotional intelligence, disordered eating, PTSD, trauma, any of that kind of stuff. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's just Naomi Stockman, My Local Hypnosis. And of course, the Anxiety-Free Life group that's attached to the Facebook page is also a great place to connect. And yeah, I'm streaming this to a number of places. So wherever you watch it, have a beautiful evening. Bye-bye.